Hey everybody, I hope you're doing well, and I think it's my time to talk about the Elden Ring Nightreign gameplay that we recently saw. We actually got some Elden Ring Nightreign footage, and we finally got that Lies of P DLC trailer reveal. If you're looking for my quick thoughts on the both of those, then I think they both look pretty good. I'm way more excited for the Lies of P DLC, but this video is about Elden Ring Nightreign, and we're going to be talking about what I like and what I dislike from what we have been shown. But I do think that it is important to represent Elden Ring Nightreign in the most fair light possible. This is not a Miyazaki-led From Software game where everyone will be frothing at the mouth ready to play it. This game also brings some negative perception with it not being a Miyazaki-led Souls game, and the Elden Ring title being stamped on the front box cover art. Not only that, but there's a massive amount of reuse, and it's just so radically different from what we are used to. More or less what I'm saying is that this game does not get the free and easy hype that a Miyazaki-led Souls games would garner. Rather, this game has to build its own little niche fanbase. Alright, so first I want to give credit where credit's due because this is a new From Software project, and in my opinion, From Software are geniuses. I think that it's completely okay to be a little bit hesitant or off-put by this game, but in my mind at least, From Software has really never let their fanbase down. Even a game like Armored Core, a game that I didn't really like, I still think Armored Core was a pretty good game, and I know a lot of other people enjoyed it too. So if you are a little bit off-put by the game, do not let my words change your mind. You are completely allowed to do that, but at the same time I think that From Software are innovators. We wouldn't be where we are at right now if Miyazaki was never given free reign on Demon's Souls because it was an internal failure within From Software. Most people who saw Demon's Souls or played Demon's Souls all those years back thought it was a little bit clunky and funky. But because of one game, we now got one of the most iterative and high-quality third-person action melee games to date. So even if this game completely falls on its face, I think that at the end of the day, experimentation is always good. But that's not the only thing I really like about Elden Ring Nightreign. Because what this game, in my opinion, will most likely live and die on is how well the bosses are going to be designed for multiple people and also for solo players. Elden Ring Nightreign is at its core a co-op game, so naturally speaking, the bosses are going to be designed for multiple people rather than a solo player. I think most of us get that. However, when you have a game such as Elden Ring Nightreign that gives you multiple champions to pick from, that also brings to the table champion diversity and how those champions can interact with the boss in co-op. What makes these co-op games fun is when you, of course, have a friend to play with. And if you and your friend play different champion classes, experimenting with what your champion classes can do on bosses also adds on to the complexity of the game. If Elden Ring Nightreign is just a really good game with Souls bosses that work with multiple people, I feel like it would be missing a crucial piece to make it even better. Now, as for solo players playing Elden Ring Nightreign, I think it's expected that you're either going to not be able to do it when you first get the game, or you're going to struggle really, really hard. What I really want to see with solo play on Elden Ring Nightreign is that From Software acknowledges it and understands that the viability of solo play is also healthy for the game, even if it's not the main focus of the game itself. The next thing that I do want to mention is that almost every other studio in the games industry would have just made this a live service game and pushed for a live service Fortnite, and From Software seems like they're not going to be doing that. They've already announced that Elden Ring Nightreign is not going to be a live service game, but also this is probably the type of game that gets some DLC that was already announced, and once it gets 6 months or so of support, it may just fade out, and that's completely okay. This is a game that has Elden Ring on the name. Unless the game is really, really bad, it will always have a little dedicated player base, very similar to PvP in the older Souls games. I also want to mention that the map looks different enough while also feeling familiar at the same time. I feel like from what I've seen at least, they hit a pretty good medium of being Elden Ring but also being its own thing. I would have to actually play the game a little bit to really tell you how I feel about it, but from what I've seen, the map looks different enough in a way that I like. Okay, so this is what I like the most about what I've seen from Elden Ring Nightreign. It's no secret that most of us mainly play From Software games for Miyazaki-led Souls games. That's kind of what most of us are here for. Armored Core has a very dedicated player base, and I hope they continue to enjoy the game, but Miyazaki-led Souls games are without a doubt the golden egg of From Software. And because of that, if Elden Ring Nightreign can upgrade the technology in this game so Miyazaki can then use some of that technology in his future game to make it better or save him some time, I think that's an all-around win-win for everybody. I think at the very worst, Miyazaki sees some of the new abilities and ideas that is in Elden Ring Nightreign, and he could then use them for his next dark fantasy RPG game, or he can see that and say, I don't really think that worked out as everyone thought it would, and know how to not utilize those movesets or that ability in his next Dark Fantasy RPG game. You have to remember, the Souls games are an iterative series. Each Souls game that is made from Software isn't radically new and doesn't reinvent the wheel from start to finish. The only time that arguably happened, and I would definitely say it did, was with Sekiro, but Sekiro was kind of its own thing, and I don't really think we'll be seeing any more Sekiro if you want my opinion. So this is the part of the video where we talk about things that I don't like or things that I'm kind of questioning on whether I will like this in the game or not. So first we need to talk about the reuse. Elden Ring and reuse is kind of a hot topic because that was all people talked about when the game released, and we're still talking about it in a completely different game. It just has Elden Ring plastered on the cover. When this game was initially revealed, we all knew that there was going to be a lot of assets from base game Elden Ring put into Elden Ring Nightreign. If you go into Elden Ring Nightreign expecting all of the assets to be completely fresh and unique, then that's kind of on you because Bandai Namco and From Software have not tried to hide this fact. So the reuse is one thing, but from what I've seen, we have a lot of base game Elden Ring enemies throughout the overworld, or what is the overworld of Elden Ring and Elden Ring Nightreign, and they don't really look at all changed. Again, we go into Elden Ring Nightreign knowing that there's going to be reuse, that's fine, but the Elden Ring Nightreign characters are demonstrably more complex than what a base Elden Ring character is. Your characters have special abilities and powers that can be utilized in the game itself. So if you have 3 people fighting a normal Elden Ring AI, and these 3 characters are stronger than base game Elden Ring characters, it looks like these guys will get absolutely slaughtered and there will be no pushback. Part of that is definitely what you do in a roguelike type game, but from all the gameplay I've seen, everything kind of just got pushed over besides the very end bosses that I didn't really get to see much of. Even if you buff up these enemies to Elden Ring Nightreign standard, I still think they're probably going to get absolutely slaughtered until you get to the very end of the run for the boss. Not only that, but people who are going to be playing Elden Ring Nightreign are probably experienced Souls players, and at the very bare minimum, they have played Elden Ring before. So everybody knows what Leone Misbegotten's moves are. Everybody knows what some of the Stormveil Castle enemies will do. I think I did hear from Iron Pineapple's video that Margit had a new move, but just adding 1 or 2 new moves on the big bosses doesn't sound like it's going to be enough. And the criticism that I'm levying towards Elden Ring Nightreign may be an opinion that I change as I play the game. But as of right now, this is my biggest gripe with the game, and I hope that I am wrong by the time I actually play the game. So something that we've all known about with Elden Ring Nightreign, and I've been disappointed about it since day one, is that there's no crossplay in this game. We are in the year 2025, and From Software is one of the most successful video game companies on the market, and launching a co-op game where they want you to play with friends without crossplay is like going to a steakhouse without meat. It's unacceptable. The only conclusion that I have is that From Software's technology isn't capable of doing crossplay since none of their previous Souls games have crossplay. It also probably wasn't worth the time investment to allow crossplay or to make crossplay be a thing on whatever in-house engine From Software is using. Elden Ring Nightreign is by nature kind of a spin-off what-if game, and they don't really know if they're going to be doing more of this co-op experience type of game. So developing and fundamentally changing their engine for one game that may or may not be a hit is kind of a tough sell. So I do get that. I don't want to defend it because it is unacceptable. And the last thing that stood out to me is I wonder if this game will simply be too easy for experienced Souls players in a party. This is somewhat off topic as the games are different, but we've all heard the opinion that Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree kind of pushed what the Souls combat is to its max. And since Elden Ring Nightreign is Souls combat on crack, getting together a party of 3 players that have beaten every Souls game and even done challenge runs may just make the game look like a piece of cake compared to what it probably should be. It's up to the players to decide if they want to get in a party with very experienced players, but at the same time, people are going to optimize the game to its max potential when it comes out, and if the game is kind of beaten within the first few weeks, that sounds like it wouldn't be good for the longevity of the game itself. But I guess we'll really have to play it and see how all of this turns out. My overall thoughts about Elden Ring Nightreign are more positive than negative. I have complete faith in From Software, and they haven't really disappointed me in a very long time. That's not to suggest that I love all of their games, because I simply don't, but I think that From Software has a lot of genius and talented developers within their studio. And even though there are other games that I'm looking forward to more than Elden Ring Nightreign, I'm still going to give this game a shot.